Do you ever feel like sharing everything with your family might cause more trouble than it's worth? As we get older, it's natural to want to be completely open and honest with the people we love, thinking that laying all our cards on the table is the best way to stay connected and build trust. We assume that total transparency will bring us closer, clear up confusion, and show our loved ones we have nothing to hide. But sometimes the opposite happens. Sharing too much can stir up problems that wouldn't have existed otherwise. It's not that we're trying to be sneaky or distant. It's just that keeping a few things to ourselves can actually be a wiser choice. In this chat, we're going to explore 5 things you might want to keep private after you turn 65. Not because you're shutting anyone out, but because it can protect your peace, your independence, and the harmony in your relationships. This isn't about lying or building walls. It's about figuring out what's worth sharing and what's better left unsaid. You might find that holding back a little brings a surprising amount of calm to your life as you age. Stick around until the end, because these 5 ideas could really shift how you approach your family, giving you more freedom and control in your later years. Let's dive in and see what makes sense for you. First up, your money and how you handle it. Money can be a tricky subject as we get older, and it's tempting to think that telling your family everything about your finances will keep things straightforward and avoid any surprises down the road. You might believe that being upfront about your savings, investments, or spending habits will prevent misunderstandings or show that you trust them with the big picture. But in reality, it often opens the door to complications you didn't see coming. When you reveal every detail about your cash, you might suddenly face a flood of unsolicited advice, family disagreements, or even subtle pressure from those closest to you. Different generations see money in their own ways. Your kids might think you're too cautious, while your grandkids might wonder why you're not splashing out more. Suddenly, what was meant to be a simple conversation turns into a debate about your choices. Maybe you've noticed this before. Someone your age shares their financial setup with their family, and before long, relatives are asking nosy questions or hinting they'd like a say in how things are managed. It's not always about greed. Sometimes they genuinely think they're helping, but it can feel like they're stepping into your space. Plus, once you've let them in on the full picture, there's no taking it back. That knowledge stays with them, and you can't unring that bell. If they start doubting your decisions, like whether you should have bought that car or saved more, they might try to take charge, even if you're perfectly capable. Talking about big plans, like a will or who gets what later, makes sense when the time's right, but the day-to-day details, your personal spending, how much you've tucked away, the little treats you enjoy, those can stay yours alone. It's not about hiding. It's about keeping your freedom and living your life without everyone else's 2 cents weighing you down. Number 2, little health problems that aren't a big deal. As we age, our bodies don't work like they used to, and it's easy to want to tell our family about every change we notice, every sore muscle, every day we feel worn out, every time we're not quite ourselves. We figure they care about us, so they'd want to know what's going on, and maybe we even feel better getting it off our chest. But there's a difference between keeping them in the loop on serious issues and unloading every minor bump in the road. If you mention every twinge in your back or every restless night, it can spark more worry than you meant to cause. And before you know it, they're stressing over things that aren't a crisis. You might casually say your knees are stiff, and suddenly they're insisting you see a specialist or switch up your whole diet. They're coming from a good place, sure, but that concern can snowball into them hovering over you or pushing advice you didn't ask for. Maybe you've been there, bringing up a small ache and finding they're now planning your next doctor's visit or suggesting you can't handle your usual routine. It gets tiring fast, especially when you've been looking after yourself just fine for decades. And there's more to it. If you keep talking about these little things, they might start picturing you as frail or fading, even if you're nowhere near that point. Over time, that image sticks. They might stop asking you along on trips or start treating you like you need extra care, all because you mentioned feeling off one day. Serious stuff, like a diagnosis that changes your life or something you need help with, is worth sharing, no question. But the everyday ups and downs? Keeping those quiet lets you stay in the driver's seat and avoids turning small complaints into big family projects. It's about holding on to your independence without the fuss. Number 3, What you really think about family fights. Families can get chaotic, siblings squabbling over old grudges, kids not speaking to each other, cousins caught up in some petty drama that never seems to end. By the time you're 65, you've seen these patterns play out over and over, like a movie you've watched too many times. You know who's stubborn, who holds onto things too long, and how these blow-ups tend to go. It's tempting to step in, either to smooth things over or to lay out exactly what you think about who's at fault and why. You might feel like your experience gives you a clear view, and sharing it could set things right. But more often than not, getting involved just drags you into the mess. Maybe you've tried it, playing referee in a spat between your kids, only to have them both turn on you, or giving your unfiltered take on a relative's behavior and watching it blow up in your face. People don't always want to hear the truth, even if you're spot on, and they'll twist your words or hold a grudge long after the fight's done. Family arguments have a way of either fizzling out on their own or staying messy, no matter what you say, and your input rarely shifts the outcome. Worse, when the dust settles, they'll remember your opinion, and not always kindly. This hits harder when it's about touchy stuff, like how your son's wife acts or your grandkid's latest life choice. You might think you're helping by being blunt, but they'll hear judgment, and that can linger, quietly straining things between you. Instead of diving in, try stepping back. A simple, "I hope it works out," or "you'll sort it through," keeps you in the game without picking sides. It's not about dodging reality. It's about staying above the fray, so you don't lose your calm or your place in the family. Number 4, old regrets you still carry. When you've got decades behind you, it's only natural to look back and chew over the what-ifs. Jobs you passed up, chances you didn't grab, moments you'd play differently if you could. Those thoughts creep in as you age, and sometimes you feel like talking them out with family, like it's a way to process or make peace with the past. You might think they'd get where you're coming from, maybe even share their own stories, and it could feel like a bonding moment. But here's the catch. What sounds like reflection to you can hit them in a whole different way. Say you mention wishing you'd spent less time at the office and more with them. Your kids might take it as, "I wasn't there enough," even if you don't mean it like that. Or if you talk about a dream you let slip, like moving somewhere new, they might wonder if they tied you down, if their life with you wasn't what you wanted. It's not your intention, but those words can plant doubts or guilt they don't need. Even lighter stuff, like an old love you laugh about or a friend you lost touch with, can make them question things, like whether they were your real priority. And if you keep bringing up regrets, they might stop seeing you as the steady, capable person they lean on and start thinking you're caught up in what's gone. That shift's hard to undo. It's fine to wrestle with the past in your own head, to learn from it or let it go. But unloading it on family doesn't change what happened. It just risks weighing them down with stuff they can't fix. Keep those thoughts yours. It's your history to carry, not theirs to sort out. Number 5, every detail of your money situation. We hit on money before, but this is the bigger picture. How much you've got stashed away, what you're planning to pass on, or any tight spots you're in. As you age, you might feel this pull to lay it all out for your family, thinking they should know where you stand, especially if you're winding down or planning for the future. It could seem like a way to prepare them or show you trust them with the real stuff. But opening that door too wide can flip things upside down. If they find out you've got a nice nest egg, some might start treating you different, maybe expecting a handout, asking for loans, or eyeing what they'll get later. It's not always obvious. Sometimes it's just a shift in how they talk to you, a little too interested in your plans. On the flip side, if you admit things are lean, they might worry too much, piling on questions about how you're managing or second-guessing every move you make. Either way, it changes the vibe. Money has this power to tweak how people act, and once they've got the full scoop, you can't pull it back. Then there's the independence piece. The more they know, the more they might feel okay stepping in, offering help you didn't ask for. You could end up with them suggesting you sell your place, cut back, or rethink your budget, all because they've got details they don't need. They might mean well, but can feel like they're running your show. Sure, get your will sorted. Pick a reliable person to handle things when you're gone. That's smart. But beyond that, the exact numbers, the daily struggles, the little wins, keep those close. It's your call how you manage, and holding back some of that keeps your life yours, free of tension or meddling. So there you go. 5 things to think about keeping private after 65. It's not about cutting people off or being mysterious. It's about shielding your peace, your choices, and the good stuff in your relationships. Aging gives you this clarity about what really counts: your calm, your freedom, the way you connect with the people you love. Sharing's great, but not everything needs a spotlight. Have you ever let something slip and wished you could reel it back? Or stayed quiet and felt good about it later? Life's taught you plenty by now, and part of that is knowing when to speak and when to hold off. Pick what you share with care. It's your story, and you get to steer it. Thanks for sticking with me. Hope this gives you something to mull over as you go.